Today, the largest animals on Earth live in the ocean. Whales have become symbols of size, endurance, and survival. A blue whale can outweigh any creature that has ever lived. And in the modern sea, few predators are capable of threatening an adult whale. But 10 million years ago, the oceans were very different. Back then, being enormous did not guarantee safety, because there was a predator large enough to hunt whales themselves. Its name was Livyatan. This giant predatory sperm whale lived during the Miocene epoch, a time when the oceans supported some of the largest predators in Earth's history. Armed with massive jaws and teeth that could exceed 12 inches in length, Livyatan was built for tackling large prey, including other marine mammals. It belonged to a world that no longer exists, a world of giant hunters, abundant seas, and evolutionary arms races played out across entire oceans. Eventually, that world vanished, and Livyatan vanished with it, at least according to the fossil record. But what if Livyatan had never disappeared? And what would our oceans look like today if it still ruled the sea? To understand how Livyatan could have ruled the oceans, we first need to understand the world that created it. Around 10 million years ago, during the Miocene epoch, Earth's oceans were very different from those we know today. Many regions were warmer, sea levels were often higher, and marine ecosystems were among the most productive in the planet's history. At the base of these ecosystems were vast populations of microscopic plankton. Fueled by nutrient-rich waters rising from the deep ocean, these tiny organisms supported immense food chains that extended through fish, squid, seabirds, seals, and whales. The oceans were becoming a place where giants could thrive. This was also a crucial period in whale evolution. Many groups of whales were diversifying rapidly, filling ecological roles that ranged from deep-diving hunters to large filter feeders. Some lineages were evolving larger bodies, while others were experimenting with new feeding strategies. In many regions, whale diversity was greater than it is today, creating an ocean rich in both prey and competition. Where large prey exists, large predators often follow, and during the Miocene, several extraordinary predators appeared at nearly the same time. One of them was Livyatan. Fossils discovered in Peru reveal a giant predatory sperm whale that lived approximately 9 to 10 million years ago, and its skull measured nearly 10 feet in length. Unlike modern sperm whales, which mainly feed on squid, Livyatan appears to have hunted large marine vertebrates, including other whales. But Livyatan was not the only giant hunter in these waters. The Miocene was also home to Megalodon, the largest shark known from the fossil record. Although scientists continue to debate details of its biology, Megalodon occupied a similar position near the top of the marine food web. For a period of time, some of the largest predators ever known shared the same oceans. Imagine looking across a Miocene sea. Whales migrate through productive waters. Schools of fish stretch beyond the horizon. Pods of dolphins move through coastal regions. Giant predators patrol beneath the surface. Energy flows through the ecosystem on a scale that is difficult to imagine today. This abundance helps explain why so many marine animals reached enormous sizes. Large predators require tremendous amounts of food. A giant hunter cannot survive in a poor ecosystem. The Miocene oceans were productive enough to support not only massive prey populations, but also the predators that depended on them. In some regions, marine productivity may have rivaled or even exceeded that of many modern ocean ecosystems. Yet gigantism came with a cost. The larger an animal becomes, the more vulnerable it is to major environmental changes. Stable food supplies, healthy ecosystems, and favorable ocean conditions become increasingly important. Livyatan was therefore more than a powerful predator. It was the product of a rare combination of circumstances: abundant prey, productive oceans, and millions of years of evolutionary opportunity. In many ways, Livyatan reflected the Miocene itself, a world defined by abundance, competition, and giants. But worlds do not remain unchanged forever. The conditions that allowed creatures like Livyatan to flourish would eventually begin to shift. And when the oceans changed, the fate of their greatest predators would change with them. So what exactly was Livyatan? The answer begins not with a complete skeleton, but with a remarkable discovery. In 2008, paleontologists working in the Pisco Basin of Peru uncovered the partial skull and jaws of a giant sperm whale unlike any living today. The surrounding rock layers indicated an age of roughly 9 to 10 million years. Although only part of the animal was preserved, it was enough to reveal something extraordinary. At first glance, Livyatan looked like a sperm whale, but the similarities quickly ended there. Based on available fossils and comparisons with related species, researchers estimate that Livyatan may have reached between 43 and 56 feet in total length. Large, certainly. But size alone does not explain why Livyatan stands apart. The real clue lies in its teeth. Modern sperm whales primarily hunt squid, and their upper teeth play only a limited role in feeding. Livyatan was different. It retained large, functional teeth in both jaws, a feature more consistent with an active predator than a deep-sea squid hunter. This immediately raises an important question. Why would a whale need teeth like these? The fossil evidence provides a compelling answer. Powerful teeth and a robust skull are not ideal for capturing soft-bodied prey. They are far better suited for gripping, restraining, and injuring large animals. Combined with the whale-rich ecosystems of the Miocene, these traits strongly suggest that Livyatan specialized in hunting large marine vertebrates. This is where evidence and hypothesis begin to separate. The teeth are evidence. The skull is evidence. Its presence in whale-rich environments is evidence. From these facts, scientists can reasonably conclude that Livyatan was an active predator. But exactly how it hunted remains uncertain. Did it pursue whales in open water? Did it ambush prey from below? Did it hunt alone? The fossil record cannot yet answer those questions. What it does reveal is something equally important. Livyatan was not simply a giant whale. It was a giant whale equipped with the anatomical tools of a specialized predator, occupying a role unlike that of any sperm whale alive today. For paleontologists, Livyatan represents evidence that some whales evolved into apex predators capable of hunting other whales. that may be the most remarkable thing about Livyatan. Not that it was enormous, but it was built to hunt giants. Yet specialization comes with a cost. The very adaptations that made Livyatan successful may also help explain why its reign eventually came to an end. If Livyatan was such a successful predator, why did it disappear? At first, the answer seems simple. The world changed. But the disappearance of Livyatan was likely part of a much larger transformation affecting oceans across the planet. By the late Miocene, Earth's climate was gradually cooling. Antarctica's ice sheets continued to expand and global temperatures declined. These changes influenced ocean circulation, altering how heat and nutrients moved through the seas. To many marine species, the effects were slow but significant. Over millions of years, productive feeding grounds shifted, habitats changed, and marine ecosystems began to reorganize. The oceans that had once supported generations of giant predators were no longer the same oceans. At the same time, whale communities were changing. Some species disappeared, others evolved into new forms. The composition of prey populations gradually shifted, creating new ecological conditions that differed from those in which Livyatan had evolved. For a highly specialized predator, this mattered. Large predators occupy the top of food webs, but their survival depends on energy flowing upward from countless organisms below them. When ecosystems change, the consequences are often felt most strongly at the top. The fossil record suggests that Livyatan flourished during a period when marine ecosystems were exceptionally productive and large marine mammals were abundant. As those conditions changed, the advantages that once favored Livyatan may have become less effective. It is important to distinguish evidence from certainty. Scientists have not found proof of a sudden catastrophe that wiped out Livyatan. There is no evidence of a single extinction event. Instead, the available evidence points toward a gradual decline driven by environmental change. Climate shifted. Ocean circulation changed. Marine ecosystems were restructured. Prey communities evolved, and a predator perfectly adapted to one world may have struggled as that world slowly disappeared. In that sense, Livyatan did not simply vanish. The environment that had allowed it to thrive was vanishing as well. Its disappearance may have been less about the failure of a species and more about the loss of the ecological conditions that supported it. By the beginning of the Pliocene, the age of giant marine predators was fading, and Livyatan appears to have disappeared with it. Or at least, that is what the fossil record suggests. But fossils preserve only fragments of the past, and that leaves one intriguing possibility. What if a small population of Livyatan survived these changes and adapted to a new world? The fossil record can tell us when a species appears and when it was last observed. What it often cannot tell us is whether every final population has been found. So let us imagine a different possibility. Not a world where Livyatan remained common, but one in which a small, isolated population survived. Perhaps a few groups persisted in regions where ocean productivity remained relatively high. Perhaps they occupied new feeding grounds beyond the areas preserved in the fossil record. Whatever the mechanism, survival would have required something more important than strength. It would have required adaptation. By the end of the Miocene, the world that had produced Livyatan was disappearing. Any surviving population would have faced colder oceans, changing currents and ecosystems unlike those of their ancestors. To endure, they could not remain exactly the same. Natural selection would favor individuals capable of exploiting new opportunities. Rather than relying on a narrow range of prey surviving, Livyatan might gradually broaden their diet, targeting whatever large marine mammals were most abundant in their environment. Over time, flexibility could become their greatest advantage. Then came an even greater challenge. Beginning roughly 2.6 million years ago, Earth entered a series of ice ages. Massive glaciers advanced across the northern hemisphere. Sea levels repeatedly rose and fell as enormous volumes of water became locked within continental ice sheets. For many species, these environmental swings proved difficult. Yet marine mammals have survived dramatic climatic changes before. Whales, seals, and dolphins repeatedly adjusted their distributions as oceans transformed around them. In this alternate history, Livyatan does the same. Generation after generation, it follows shifting food sources into new regions. Populations contract during difficult periods and expand when conditions improve. The species never returns to the abundance of its Miocene peak, but it avoids extinction. Millions of years pass. Ice ages come and go. Entire ecosystems change. Human ancestors appear, evolve, and spread across the globe. And still, somewhere beyond the reach of the fossil record, Livyatan survives. Not because it was invincible, but because it was adaptable. That distinction matters. Throughout Earth's history, survival has rarely belonged to the largest or strongest species alone. More often, it belongs to those capable of adjusting to a changing world. In this scenario, Livyatan becomes one of those survivors, a relic of the Miocene carrying its lineage into a completely different age. But survival is only the beginning of the story. After millions of years in a changing ocean, what would a modern Livyatan actually look like? If Livyatan survived into the modern world, it would not be exactly the same animal that swam through the Miocene oceans. 10 million years is a very long time. Species can persist for millions of years, but they do not remain unchanged. Evolution continues generation after generation, constantly shaping populations in response to new environments and new challenges. A modern Livyatan would almost certainly look familiar to its ancient ancestors, yet it would also be different in important ways. One of the biggest questions is size. The Livyatan, known from fossils, evolved in an ocean rich with large prey and abundant resources. But maintaining a massive body requires enormous amounts of energy. If food became less predictable over time, natural selection might favor a somewhat smaller and more efficient predator. Not necessarily small, but perhaps better adapted to a world where energy had to be used more carefully. Yet the composition of marine ecosystems has shifted repeatedly since the Miocene. A surviving lineage would likely need to become more flexible, taking advantage of different prey depending on location and season. Many successful predators today survive because they can adapt their behavior when conditions change. Livyatan might have done the same. Migration could also become increasingly important. Modern whales travel thousands of miles every year in search of food and breeding grounds. If Livyatan endured multiple ice ages and changing ocean conditions, following prey across vast distances may have become a critical survival strategy. Rather than ruling a single region, it might spend much of its life moving between productive feeding areas. Cold water adaptation is another possibility. As Earth's climate cooled, nutrient-rich waters became concentrated in many higher-latitude regions. Over millions of years, a surviving Livyatan population might develop traits that allowed it to thrive in colder environments, much as several large whale species do today. Of course, these details remain hypothetical. The fossil record can show us what Livyatan was, but it cannot reveal exactly what 10 million years of evolution would produce. What evolution does tell us is that survival never means standing still. Every species alive today is the result of continuous adaptation. The whales crossing modern oceans are not identical to their ancestors, and neither would Livyatan be. That may be the most important insight of all. If Livyatan still existed, its greatest achievement would not be preserving its ancient form. It would be changing enough to survive while retaining its place among the ocean's largest predators. Because evolution never stopped. By this point, the question is no longer whether Livyatan could survive. The question is how its survival would change the ocean around it. In modern ecosystems, apex predators are often surprisingly rare. They make up only a small fraction of total biomass, yet their influence extends far beyond their numbers. Livyatan would likely be no exception. Even a relatively small global population could shape the behavior of other species across vast regions of the ocean. Large whales, for example, might face a level of predation pressure that no longer exists today. Adult whales would remain formidable animals, but younger individuals could be more vulnerable. Calving grounds might become even more important, offering mothers and calves protected environments during the most dangerous stages of life. As a result, migration routes and breeding behaviors could evolve under a constant threat that modern whale populations rarely experience. The effects would not stop there. Ecologists often describe apex predators as regulators of ecosystems. By influencing where prey animals feed, travel, and reproduce, predators can indirectly affect entire food webs. A surviving Livyatan could potentially shape whale distribution on an oceanic scale. And when whale distribution changes, many other species are affected as well. Fish populations, squid populations, and even nutrient cycling can respond to shifts in whale behavior. In the ocean, everything is connected through networks of energy that stretch across thousands of miles. The role of killer whales might also look somewhat different. Today, killer whales are among the most versatile predators on Earth, capable of hunting fish, seals, sharks, and even large whales. But in a world where Livyatan still occupied the position of a giant whale specialist, ecological niches could be divided differently. This does not mean constant conflict between the two species. Nature is often less dramatic than that. More commonly, species coexist by specializing in different resources regions or hunting strategies. Over thousands of generations, both predators could evolve ways of reducing direct competition. What emerges from this picture is not an ocean dominated by fear, it is an ocean shaped by balance. The presence of a top predator can help maintain structure within ecosystems, influencing countless interactions that may never be visible from the surface. That is one of the most important lessons of ecology. And if Livyatan had survived its greatest impact on the modern ocean, might not be the animals it hunted, it might be the ecological balance it helped maintain. After exploring this alternate history, one final question remains. Could Livyatan actually survive in the modern ocean? The answer is not as simple as it may seem. Today, the oceans still support giant whales, but they are very different from the seas Livyatan once inhabited. Many whale populations remain far below their historical numbers after centuries of commercial whaling. At the same time, fishing, shipping pollution, and climate change continue to alter marine ecosystems across the globe. A predator as large as Livyatan would require enormous amounts of food throughout its lifetime. Its survival would depend not only on its own adaptations, but on the health and productivity of the entire ecosystem around it. And that raises an interesting possibility. Perhaps the real question is not whether Livyatan could survive in our world. Perhaps it is whether our world could still support Livyatan. In many ways, this is no longer a story about a single whale. It is a story about how Earth has changed. Over millions of years, climates shifted, ocean currents reorganized, and ecosystems transformed. Species that once dominated the planet disappeared, while others adapted and survived. Livyatan was one product of a very particular moment in Earth's history, a time when the oceans were capable of supporting some of the largest predators ever known. That world is gone, and its disappearance reminds us that even the most powerful animals are ultimately shaped by the environments they inhabit. The disappearance of Livyatan is not just the story of one species. It is the story of how an entire planet has changed over millions of years.